Okay, we are recording again.
This open meeting of the Triton Regional School Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, in response to the COVID pandemic, and the provisions extended through March 31st, 2025 by the FY23 supplemental budget signed by Governor Haley on March 29th, 2023. These provisions suspended the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. I hereby call to order this meeting of the Triton Regional School Committee on January 14th, 2025 at 6 p.m. I am Linda Lukowski, Chair of the School Committee, and I would like to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Erin?
I'm here and I can hear you.
Caitlin?
I'm here and I can hear you.
Paul Goldner?
I'm here and I can hear you.
Kelly?
I'm here and I can hear you.
Matthew?
I'm here and I can hear you.
Marissa?
I am here and I can hear you.
Paulise? Paul? Okay.
He can hear us. Sound doesn't look like it's working.
Might not have a microphone.
Yeah.
Did Paul Mayette come on yet?
Paul Mayette is still
Okay.
not here. Not here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Superintendent Brian Forget.
Here and I can hear you.
Director of Finance and Operations, Brian Perry.
I'm here and I can hear you.
Director of Curriculum and Assessment, Anna Bates.
I'm here and I can hear you.
Director of Student Services, Shannon Nolan.
I'm here and I can hear you.
Triton High School Principal, Patrick Kelly.
I'm here and I can hear you.
Triton Middle School Principal, Al McCray.
I'm here and I can hear you.
Pine Grove School Principal, Nicole LaPerriere.
I'm here and I can hear you.
Newbury Elementary School Principal, Beth Yondo.
I'm here and I can hear you.
Salisbury Elementary School Principal, Michael Estuccio.
I'm here and I can hear you.
For this meeting, the Triton School Committee is convening remotely via Zoom using the information posted on the district's website, identifying how the public may join. If you are personally attending by video conference using your device's camera, please be aware that others may be able to see you. Committee members and administrators, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the district's website with the agenda posting, unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. I'm going to read our vision statement. We are a community of learners known for our unwavering commitment to meeting the needs of all students. Through the adoption of best practices and our active partnership with families in the wider community who are united in supporting the development of engaged, successful, responsible, resilient learners, students will be well prepared to be ethical, empathetic, and contributing citizens. Next is the oral communications from the public.
Linda, can I just confirm? I think so. Paul Mayette is here, just to confirm that he is here.
Okay.
And I'm sure he can hear us.
Yes, I can.
All right. And then also John Quietek, who's our Director of Technology, probably won't be speaking tonight, but just to also confirm, you'll be hearing from him tomorrow, but just to confirm that he is also here. And I think
we can also hear sound from Paul Lees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening.
I think I'm here.
All right. Boom.
Okay, perfect.
And just so you know, Owen Silva is also just coming in now as well.
Hi, Owen. Can you hear us, Owen?
I don't think he's on yet. He's literally, hang on. Where is he popping up?
The next item on the agenda is public comment. Members of the public, the meeting host muted you as you entered the meeting. If you would like to address the committee, please indicate now that you would like to do so by raising your hand on the video call or using the raise hand option on the participant screen. The meeting host will unmute you so that you can address the committee. Please refer to the public comment policy language on the agenda when making your comments, and remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. When you have finished speaking, the meeting host will mute you again. The public comment policy language on the agenda says members of the public may address the committee for up to 3 minutes, longer with the permission of the chairperson. The committee will not engage in a discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes. Narissa will be timing the 3 minutes per speaker. Please be sure to state your name and address before beginning your comments. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the committee?
I do not see any literal or virtual hands raised.
And I just want to confirm, Owen Silva, if you can confirm that you can hear us.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks, Owen.
Perfect.
Welcome, Owen. The next item is the presentation of the FY26 budget proposals. We are here for 2 nights of budget proposals, and Superintendent Forget is going to kick off the evening one with an introduction before we move on to hear from the 5 school principals.
Thank you, Linda. So just to confirm, we are here tonight, first time in a few years, to get back to our original budget presentation cycle. The hope is that we do due diligence to the requests that we're making so that you understand the needs of the district while also not taking too much extra time to go through ad nauseum details that you might have been able to read. So each of the 5 principals will be presenting tonight. They are going to focus on the needs, the new asks, and as always, what we do, if there are certainly any things that we're pulling out of the budget, we highlight those as well. I will say, as you're going through, and I know there may be no issues, but just in case, so this is Brian's first time through the process as well, right? So there's a lot of new faces, new principals, new director of technology, new director of finance. So as we're going through, for example, on the FTEs in the budgets and trying to make sure that we had the existing FTE in the new FTE, there might be something that doesn't jive with a document from last year or what have you. So the focus will be on what we're newly asking for as we continue to make sure, as Brian goes backwards to try and understand the kind of methodology of how FTEs were counted to make sure we have those moving forward. So we'll continue to work on that. But just in case there are any discrepancies, I did want to call that out, that's been a learning curve for all of us as we're going through this process. So without further ado, unless the committee has any specific questions, we are a people of tradition and we are a people of routines. And we like to go in the same order that we always go in. As much as I tried today to shift it up just to, I don't know, move some cheese, there was no cheese to be moved. So we will use our traditional alphabetical and chronological order, and we'll start with Beth at Newbury, then Nicole at Pine Grove, who definitely has the worst end of the sickness bug right now. Maybe she'll have a voice by that point. And then Michael from Salisbury, over to Al from the middle school, and then Patrick at the high school. So again, tonight is you're hearing directly from the principals what the needs are for their buildings. We do not present at the same time. A very time-intensive process where we used to present school improvement plans along with budgets. So you have the school improvement plans, you have our district strategy, the presentations you'll hear tonight from principals, and then the presentations you'll hear tomorrow night from district administrators are reflective of those goals that we have prioritized and said that they are important, and these are the things we need to do to move this district forward and be better for our students and as a whole. So if there aren't any questions, I will pass it over to Beth the principal for Newbury Elementary. There are no
Thank you,
questions.
Brian.
I'll call you, Beth.
Good evening, everyone. I first want to start by recognizing the teachers and instructional assistants who work at NES. They're really the heart of the school, and their work should be recognized. I also want to say that the number of students at NES is not increasing, but the needs of the students are increasing, and that is making the jobs of our teachers that much harder. I've been in education for 31 years, and we need to find more support for our students. We need to make sure their basic needs are met, and that's becoming more challenging. And if their basic needs are not met, they're not learning and they're not successful in school. So I just wanted to be transparent and make sure that you all know what a struggle that is in these times and how hard our teachers are working. So in my budget, you will see, if you first go to the current and projected enrollments, I'm asking for an additional teacher for grade 1. Our kindergarten classes this year are large. They're 21, 21, and 22. And I think it would be more conducive to learning for those students going into first grade if we could put them in 4 sections of 16. We have some very challenging students in 6th grade, in kindergarten. And we started out with small class sizes and we had people move in. So that sometimes is out of our control, and we're in a situation where we have large class sizes. And it's been difficult for the kindergarten teachers, and it's been difficult for many of our students. They need more attention, and that isn't always happening for them. So I want to advocate for those students that I think 4 sections of 16 is more conducive to their learning. So that is my first request in the budget for personnel. With that being said, we have starting to see a pattern about 3 to 4 kids every year that are coming into preschool, which are with special education teachers in preschool, and there's an instructional assistant. However, some of these students go into kindergarten and they don't have that special educator helping them. And I also have put in my budget a 0.5 special education teacher, and you can kind of see my rationale. It is a very hard for some students. We're finding students who are with more social emotional needs, also who are high functioning with autism, and they need more help in the classroom. And currently I have a special educator who's assigned to grades K to 2. However, you can't really mix those kids together, and grades 1 and 2 is keeping that person extremely busy. So I'm looking for an additional 0.5 special education teacher to primarily support those students in kindergarten, because that is, it's needed. And I know as I went back and looked at some of my preschoolers, we have about 3 going into kindergarten next year. And then the following year, I can think of 3 that are going to need some more support. And I really haven't asked for an additional special education teacher in quite a while, but we're at the point where the need is there, and to better support those students. That is my second asking for personnel. Moving along, my social worker and guidance counselor see a total of 58 students. We are at full capacity now, and when we go to IST and we have students who need more tier 2 or tier 3 intervention, we really can't accommodate them now, and we're really having to think outside of the box. But we're at the point where that 0.5 social worker, we need her full time to meet the needs of kids and also support our families. My guidance counselor and my 0.5 social worker currently spend a lot of time supporting families. We're finding kids with more anxiety, more ADHD or ADD, and those kids struggle and they need help on learning social pragmatics, strategies to make them more successful in the classroom, on the playground, in school in general. And so I really feel that that is a need at NES right now. And then, of course, my favorite position that I've been trying to get this position full-time for a few years is the STEM teacher. Currently, we do not have a STEM teacher. However, I go up to Makerspace 2 days a week and open that up for students, and I have parent volunteers coming in. But this is something that so many students thrive, and they want to create, and they want to use the design cycle, and it's just a real talent. We have some little engineers at NES that really would benefit from having a teacher, as all students would. But I can have up to 30 students in Makerspace at recess time who are choosing to come up. And the excitement and their creativity is amazing. And I'm sure some of the NES parents don't like when they show up on Friday afternoon with all their creations, whether it's, a toilet paper roll that they've created something or a basketball hoop. But there's real engineering going up in Makerspace. And I just think that we need to reach more students. Right now, kids who go up to Makerspace, it's at their recess time, but I think this is needed as a special, whether it's coding, using 3D printers, it's a need, it's engaging for students, and we want to make sure that we're meeting those needs of those students who are little engineers. And a STEM teacher can also work with a classroom teacher and do some co-planning and co-teaching, and there's just so many ways to utilize it if we have it as one of our specials, so all students are exposed to that. So those are my personnel requests. In my budget requests, you can see that for the requested line items, I'm looking for an additional $3,115. I sit down with my math and reading specialist. We look at programs that we're using, programs that we're not using, and we adjust line items to make sure that we have in there exactly what we need. Nothing, we're not asking for anything extra, but what we have in there are things that support students' learning, whether it's intervention or enrichment. We want to make sure that we are providing enrichment opportunities for our students who are above grade level, as well as interventions for the students who are below grade level and need more help with their work. And then moving along to my capital improvement request. They've kind of been the same for a few years. I want to thank the town of Newbury. They came in and they kind of went through and did an assessment of what needs to be done. We're in phase 1 of our heating and ventilation system. There seems like there's someone in there every day working on our heating and ventilation, fixing things. We need new carpet, we need new paint. I kind of tried to give you the best estimate I could. We still have carpet in some of the rooms that is very old that we need to get out. And a lot of our tiles, if you walk through the school, you will see that they are cracking, especially in the 3rd and 4th grade wing and going down to kindergarten. They need to be replaced. So the town of Newbury has been supportive coming in and working with us and hearing what our concerns are. So I want to thank them for their attention to that. And then the other area in the building are the restrooms. We're working on getting new lighting in, but the petitions, they're old. They're original to the addition of NES, and they're showing their age. So we've been doing our best to keep the bathrooms in the best shape we can, but that's one of the areas that we could use improvement as far as capital gains. And at this time, are there any questions?
I'm not sure. Can you see hands, Linda? I don't see any hands currently.
I don't see any.
If you want to just
Wait
call
a second. Narissa has her hand up.
Sorry, it took me a minute. So thank you for this, Beth. I just have one quick question because I think this was very thorough. And that's the 0.5 social worker. Does that position, is there a 0.5 there already that you're?
There is a
doing
0.5. That's one of the personnel things that is off on my budget.
Okay.
It says 1.5. It really should be 2.
Okay.
Because we currently have 1.5, but
Perfect. Thank
that
you.
gets switched around. So yeah.
So to confirm, that's a shared social worker. It's a full-time social worker that's shared between Pine Grove and Newbury. So it's technically a half-time at each school.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And I don't see any other hands.
I do not see any other hands.
All right.
I will just echo what Beth said about working with Newbury. So again, the towns own each of the 3 elementary schools. We obviously know Pine Grove is, we say brand new. It's 5 years old already, coming up on 6 years old. Salisbury Elementary is in still good shape, second newest, with the high school, middle school now being welcomed into the MSBA. Newbury is not currently, but very soon will likely be the oldest building. And certainly there is need, and the town is aware of this. I'm not saying anything they're not aware of. Some significant upgrades, right? It's just the basic building systems are 30 plus years old now, and it's quite apparent. So. All right. So no other questions for Beth. Thank you, Beth. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you all.
So I'll hand it to Nicole next. Do you have a voice?
Not that good.
All right. We can hear you.
Yeah, you can understand me. So I went ahead just in case. I didn't know what my voice was going to do. So I basically wrote up a script that I was going to write, highlighting the points in my budget, just in case somebody had to read it. Boy. So I'm here today on behalf of Pine Grove School and our school council to share an overview of our school's current needs and goals. Pine Grove is a vibrant learning community that fosters academic excellence, social emotional growth, and a deep sense of belonging for every student. Our commitment to these values is evident in the work that we do each and every day to ensure that our students not only meet high standards in academics, but also grow into empathetic, resilient, and engaged members of our Pine Grove School and Triton community. In order to foster this environment and prepare our students for success in today's world, we need to address specific needs within our staffing and our resources, with a focus on STEM education and social emotional learning and essential programs to support our struggling learners. We aim to ensure that every student at Pine Grove has the opportunities and support that they need to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. And now I'm going to refer to page 4, and that is staffing needs. With our staffing needs, I'm going to go more into my requests for a STEM teacher as well as a 0.5 social worker. I just wanted to make note, I know that I put it into the budget with little asterisks that you could probably see our non-professional educators, that there was a huge increase the year before, and we have so many, but that's based on, we do have the REACH, the Behavioral Therapeutic Program at our school now, and we also have the Essentials Program. And what has happened over the last year is that we are getting more and more students from SES and NES, which requires more support in those programs. So I just wanted to, if you were looking at the past budget or even the year prior, that there was a huge uptick in those positions, but that's based on those 2 programs coming into our school. So I just wanted to make a note of that. Also wanted to make note that last year I had spoke about our kindergarten, that the population in Crowley was thriving, and there was a huge uptick in the population, and then we ended up with 38 kindergartners last year. So currently, I'm not requesting any new classroom teachers because our needs are being met of where we're at this point. Then going into my personal budget requests, this is page 6 and 7. I'm going to piggyback on a lot of the things that Beth had mentioned, but I just want to say a few more key points. So the demand for a STEM. As we all know now, we live in a world that has increasingly driven by technology, innovation, and scientific advancement. Every single industry, from healthcare to engineering, requires individuals who can think critically solve complex problems, and work collaboratively. And these type of skills is only going to increase as the years go on. So preparing for the future, we think it's essential that our students are not only consumers of technology, but also creators. The need for a dedicated STEM teacher at the elementary level is vital. It's vital to develop skills like problem solving, design thinking, and creative solutions that are going to empower these elementary students to succeed in a fast changing technology, not only in middle school, high school, but in our world. So providing our students with regular hands-on STEM education is going to ignite their creativity and curiosity while they are young. And then we have some current limitations as well right now. At Pine Grove School and at the other elementary schools, we currently lack the resources and staffing to provide consistent, comprehensive STEM learning experiences. I struggle to get parent volunteers to help me to run the makerspace even once or twice a week. With the integration of a full-time STEM teacher, we would provide all students from pre-K through 6 weekly standard-based STEM instruction that aligns with both the state and national framework. These standards do not only reflect core STEM content, but also critical practices such as asking questions, defining problems, developing models, and communicating solutions. These are the very skills that our students need to thrive as they get older and older. The STEM teacher role would also allow us to implement and expand our existing curriculums, such as Inspire for grades K to 2 and STEM Scopes for grades 3 to 6. And it would allow us to create a more robust and well-rounded STEM education program. And those are some of the reasons that I have for wanting a STEM teacher at Pine Grove. Our next request is for a 0.5 social worker. As Beth had said, we share right now a full-time social worker. She spends part of the time at Pine Grove and she spends part of the time at NES. Some of the reasons that I feel it is vital for us to get a full-time social worker is the increasing demands of social emotional learning. In today's world, the mental and emotional health of students has never been more important. Our students are faced with challenges, trauma, anxiety, family instability, and lots of pressures from the social world. These effects of these challenges can significantly impact their academic performance and overall well-being. In many ways, the emotional health of our students nowadays is crucial for their academic success. The role of the social worker at Pine Grove School, we understand the importance of supporting the whole child, which is why we are asking for an additional 0.5 social worker to expand her social worker position to full-time. Our current social worker working part-time is unable to meet the growing demands of our students and the social emotional needs. With an increased caseload, our current part-time social worker is responsible for 31 students, while our guidance counselor is responsible for 42 students. This is stretched thin. This also does not include the lunch bunches and the personal needs that these students need every single day. The rising demand for social emotional support, we're seeing an alarming rise in the number of students experiencing significant emotional and mental challenges at school every single day. Whether it's even difficulty transitioning to school or a trauma that they're having in their home life or the struggles we see with anxiety and depression for these students is having an increase each and every day. Expanding the social worker position would provide essential support for these students. Also, beyond supporting the students directly, our social worker also plays a vital role in helping families across the community with resources, providing guidance and navigating these mental health challenges that their children are having, and offering assistance during times of crisis. This role is indispensable in building a bridge between home and school, ensuring that our families at Triton have the tools and support to create stable, nurturing environments for their children. We also have a growing need for Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention. By expanding the social worker role to full-time, we can increase our capacity for intensive support and provide more individualized attention for these students who are struggling. With the elimination of the SEL teacher and the need for consistent programming, last year, Pine Grove School did not have any SEL time because we needed to move our social worker. This left a gap in the consistent implementation of our SEL program. While our school has had continued to prioritize social emotional learning. And we've had success programs. That district-wide path that we did was very successful, and teachers are asking for it. We feel that the social worker could put this into her schedule and support our neediest students. This also would allow us to implement a more cohesive, sustainable SEL program that not only benefits students with emotional health, but also will enhance their academic success by fostering a positive school culture. So those are some of the reasons for me for our 0.5 social worker. I then want to talk about PGS supply service and budget requests. I just wanted to make note of why you would see some of the rising costs. Obviously, current economic climate, rising inflation is affecting every single part of our school budget. With the inflation rates, the cost of all of our materials, our supplies, our essential programs has increased. And this includes any type of licenses, educational tools, interventions like Read Naturally, which is now being used by 62 students at Pine Grove. This is a program that is used to improve their reading fluency. Additionally, classroom supplies such as papers, pens, and instructional materials are also seeing price hikes. In particular, elementary schools, including Pine Grove, had to purchase the Quaver music curriculum this year. And unlike in previous years when it was not required, this purchase added another $2,400 to our budgets, further contributing to the line increase expenses that you will see. We have all had we have had to increase specific line items to reflect the rising costs of these essential resources and programs to help our students. In response to all of these challenges, we have also shifted some of the line items in our budget to accurately fit where the purchases are actually taking place. So you'll notice in some of my budget this past year when NES and SES, we met to talk about our budgets, we were noticing that sometimes Beth would have something in the technology line where I had it in the textbook line. So I made some shifts there. So all of the elementaries would be more consistent across the board. But despite all these cost increases, the overall change in this area of the budget is only $9,477 compared to last year, with specific school budgets covering many of these additional costs. This careful balancing helps to ensure that we are able to meet the needs of our students while maintaining responsibility. Capital improvements. Still, as Brian had said, we are going into year 7 of our building project, so we do not have any renovation. We do not have any capital improvements that I'm asking for. Obviously, we do have, with the white walls that were put there, we do need to consistently paint over at Pine Grove. So there are certain things that we do have to do, but nothing big and alarming at this point. So to close, investing in a STEM education and social emotional support is not just an investment of our students' immediate success, but also in their long-time well-being and future. By adding a dedicated STEM teacher and expanding the social work role, we will equip our students with the tools they need to navigate today's world, overcome challenges, and succeed both academically and emotionally. And that is my budget presentation.
Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome.
Your voice sounds so painful.
I
Well
know.
done. It held out. Nicely done.
Sorry.
Does anybody have any questions for Nicole? Narissa?
Sorry, it's me. Hi, I hope your voice is less painful than it sounds. I'll just say that to start out. My question is going back to the social worker that shared the 0.5 between PGS and NES. The line items in both of the budgets have benefits included in them.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the intent would be to take the current 1.0 stays essentially a 1.0, and you're adding it looks like a 0.5 in each school, but it's really one additional person with one benefits package. Is that accurate?
Yeah, Brian Perry, I actually remember I had called you on that exact question that Narissa had when I was writing the budget. So I believe that's the way I was looking at it, because you're basically just adding. But I could be wrong. I don't know if Brian want to.
So what position was that specifically you were asking about?
The social worker, the 0.5 social worker in each. In each one, it lists it as a 0.5 salary plus the full benefits package.
We both put the benefit package, but it basically would only be one because one
I think
already
it's
had.
only one. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, yes, that is correct. That is
Okay.
correct. It was one person shared between two, so it would be one full salary and one full benefit package. Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure I was understanding how the 0.5s were working. Thank you.
Absolutely. I will say too, Nicole mentioned this, but the historical enrollment numbers we've seen in the share between the three elementaries, Salisbury has been the largest total student enrollment for the district for quite some time. There was a time in the late 90s when Newbury was the largest. Currently, Pine Grove and Salisbury have the larger smaller kindergarten classes. Newbury's is larger. So that trend we talked about last year continued into this year. Again, I think Nicole mentioned, someone else mentioned, kindergarten registrations and information nights are happening now. So we don't know those numbers yet, but they seem to be following that same pattern. So as we've done in the past, kindergarten and preschool numbers adjust throughout the budget cycle. I should say kindergarten and preschool staffing numbers adjust to the number of sections that we need. And there's times we've added late in the game, and there's times that we've moved positions to other areas if we didn't have the enrollment.
Go ahead, Erin.
Brian, sometimes we end up getting census data from the towns. Do we have any anticipation on the potential max number of kids that we could get into the kindergartens next year?
So we do have, I don't have that number for you. We do get census data. It's, I don't know, Anna, if you want to chime in. It depends on the year how accurate it is, right? So we do have that information. The real tell is, following information night. If we know there's more per the census than showed up, we certainly have an avenue then to reach out to those families. But information night and registration is really when we learn about the exact numbers. But
Which is it's next week.
Information night is next week. Okay.
In Pine Grove, we already have 32 kids registered for kindergarten that were already a part of our preschool. And we only have a total of 38 this year. So I don't know if that's indicative of what's going to happen at Pine Grove. So we'll see.
We've pretty historically been in that 50 to 60 range per class. That's been 3 sections has kind of been where we're at, give or take. A couple 2s is small, very small. 4s is large. So 4s meaning 4 sections. Sorry. All right. Any other questions for Nicole?
I don't see any other hands.
I don't see any literal or virtual. All right. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
All right. So we are passing the baton to Michael for his first budget presentation.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you all. I hope you're all doing well. I did get a message just when I logged in that I have a poor internet connection, so I'm hoping that does not interrupt us. But if I glitch, just let me know and I'll turn my camera off and finish just with audio. First, I just wanted to thank our central office administrators and Beth and Nicole as well for their support. As Brian mentioned, this was my first go around with the budget process, and I had a lot of questions and they had a lot of answers. So just wanted to share some appreciation for them and echo Beth's sentiments about our teachers, our IAs, and our instructional staff. They work hard every single day to give our students what they need. And our budget summary reflects, conversations with staff and school council about what's going to meet the needs of our students. So just a kind of quick summary from page 1. Our core values at SES are to be safe, responsible, respectful, and kind. And we leverage those to hold our students to high expectations and provide them with high levels of support. Keeping that in mind, we also made this budget proposal to target our school improvement plan goals, which you can see listed at the bottom of the page there, hoping to grow achievement in literacy, achievement in math, and growth in the area of social emotional learning. On page 2, you see our projected enrollments, and we won't spend too much time on that because we did just talk about how we should get more clarity on our preschool and kindergarten enrollment after our registration process is further along. And you will also note that there are 4 sections in next year's grade 2 with 13 students in each class, and I'll be speaking to the rationale for that as we get into the personnel budget requests. On page 3, you may, as Brian mentioned, see some differences in the total current FTEs between this budget and previous budgets. Working with Brian Perry and Shannon, we're trying to make our the positions reflected in the district budgets and in the school budgets more accurate. So we did add some positions there that were existing already, but are now just listed under the SES budget. So you can see that we are just proposing the addition of 1 full-time position at SES. So when we look at our personnel requests, our requests are a little different than Pine Grove and Newbury Elementary. And that is because at SES, we are fortunate to have a full-time guidance counselor and a full-time social worker. And I will just say it is, crucial in meeting the needs of our students. Beth and Nicole both gave you some numbers on caseloads, and we are at SES able to meet the needs of more students because we do have both of those full-time staff members. So as I go through the personnel requests, you'll note that our requests are different because our needs are different. So, and we do have those 2 full-time positions. So the first position listed there is a special education teacher. This is an existing position and does not reflect the addition of a new special education teaching position. We've been fortunate over the past 3 years to have received an evidence-based practices grant. And through that, we were able to fund both this position and another that I'll speak to in a minute. That grant is set to expire on June 30th of this year. And via that grant, we were also able to implement professional learning around co-teaching, which has been a new instructional strategy implemented at SES over the last few years. And I included some data in the budget proposal document just to show the effectiveness that we're seeing with that practice so we can understand how important it is to maintain it. So this special education teacher would maintain the current number of full-time special education teachers at SES. And really the change is that instead of being funded by the evidence-based practices grant, this would be covered by the general fund by the district. This would allow us to maintain our caseloads at their current numbers of around 10 to 15 students per special educator. And it would also allow us to maintain that expertise that our teachers have gained and the co-teaching relationships that they've built, which has had a positive impact on our instruction. Throughout our co-teaching professional development, the facilitators who help us implement that, who are really the experts on co-teaching, talk about how important it is to develop that relationship. And so maintaining not only that expertise, but those relationships and our current number of special educators would really be critical in continuing to provide a quality education to our special education students and to all of our students. All students benefit from co-teaching and having 2 licensed educators in the classroom. So we did include some learning data just to show the effectiveness of our co-teaching teams. You can see our kindergarten and grade 1 DIBELS data. That's co-teaching that's done by our Title I team. You can see data over 3 years really shows a shift to quite a few students ending the year at core and making substantial progress. And then if you look on page 5, there's a chart from the upper grade levels, grade 4 classroom that did experience co-teaching as measured by their iReady benchmark. This was a classroom that had co-teaching and reading. You can see that the students who benefited from co-teaching ended the year in many cases with double-digit percentages more growth than students who did not receive co-teaching. So relatedly, the second position is also funded by that evidence-based practices grant. So what we would hope to do is to pull that into our fund as well so we can maintain the position. And that's our multilingual learner instructional assistant. This position works directly under our 2 EL educators. And we have a growing population of EL students at SES. We are up to 23 students. The average minutes of services per day for those 23 students is 70 minutes, and that's determined by their WIDA level, which is their world-class instructional design and assessment. It's a score from an assessment they give to measure English language learners' proficiency in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And our average score on that assessment for our 23 students is 2.4. So that indicates that on average, the EL students at SES understand some English and general academic language, but require visual and graphic supports in order to really access. So just to kind of give you an idea of our language proficiency and the growing need. Overall, we know that this position has made a tremendously positive impact in our classrooms and has been crucial in ensuring that our ELs are able to receive the support that they need. And the addition of this position has just reflected our commitment to the multilingual learners and our commitment to equity in the district. So we would also really hope to maintain that position since it will no longer be covered by that grant. So next would be a grade 2 classroom teacher. This is not an increase and is not a new position, but would be a reassignment rather than realizing a class section savings. So this is going back to that grade 2 in 4 sections with those small numbers. This position, this classroom teaching position, would be freed up due to a larger 6th grade cohort exiting, which would allow us to split our current 1st grade cohort into 4 sections. This would land them with 13 students in each class prior to any additional enrollments. And the rationale for this is just that there is an incredible level of need in our 1st grade cohort. This is across behavioral, linguistic, social, emotional, and academic areas. From September through December of this year, 33%, 1/3 of all of our office referrals were from the 1st grade classrooms, or first graders. It wasn't all in the classrooms, it was at different locations, but had to do with 1st grade students. So we really want to prioritize protecting the time and focus that's spent on academic learning. And in order to do that, we think that splitting this cohort into 4 sections would help us achieve our goal. In addition, 5 of our ELs are at this grade level. Their WIDA scores are from 1.0 to 1.7. That really indicates they're in the entering stage. So just understanding a few English words and phrases. And we do have 9 students with significant trauma histories in this cohort as well. So there's just a high level of need. And so it's something that we're hopeful we'll be able to meet by creating smaller class sizes. Certainly, right, if that position was not shifted to grade 2, then those class sizes would remain at 17 or 18. And we would realize a savings of 1 full-time position, but we do believe that splitting this cohort into 4 sections would be the best thing for the students and for our school community. And finally, you've heard quite a bit about the STEM teacher already. So just to confirm, that would operate the same way at SES as our 5th special. And so the students would be able to have weekly STEM education. Nicole and Beth spoke to the rationale for this, right, in our modern society. And just with the way that this really responds to student interest and needs and could be the thing, right, that gets them excited to come to school, invested in, their daily education. So I won't spend too much time on that, but just to note, it would operate the same here, and that STEM teacher would also, have the opportunity to co-plan and co-teach with teachers as well. In the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. Finally, I just did want to note, when you look at the staff request totals, the numbers look a little odd. So the FTE change is truly just 1 new position being added, which is the STEM teacher. But if we do pull in the salary of the special educator and the multilingual learner instructional assistant, that is why that total salary change is quite a bit higher than what you would expect for the addition of 1 position. So to speak to the supplies and services budget requests, as Nicole mentioned, the prices of certain things have increased. And so at this time, the change to our all SES line items represents a plus 3.43% increase over our prior requests. A dollar amount for that is it's $3,595 more than last year. And you'll also notice, as Nicole mentioned, we did adjust the allocation of some funds from instructional materials and books to instructional technology. Beth, Nicole, and I met just to align where we were assigning certain common instructional items like student licenses to digital platforms. Otherwise, in terms of capital improvements, I met with Ron Tatro, our head custodian, to talk about priorities. And right now, our biggest priority is to continue with the goal of removing carpeting and replacing with tiles in classrooms. Ron's goal right now is to really continue to do this about 2 to 3 classrooms at a time. And so this previously was around $16,500. So we've budgeted 20 for that. And then the other thing to note here is just that previously we had listed under capital improvement requests items related to the playground and the play structure, but we're in the very early stages of putting together an SES playground project committee and hoping that that will be entirely grant funded and fundraised so that we are able to build a new play structure for grades 1 through 6 on SES campus. So I think that is just about everything. And I'll pause here for questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Michael?
Can I ask one question? Shannon or Anna, is there a possibility that the grant for the ELIA and the special education teacher, is that, we don't have any guarantee right now, but is there a chance on either of those that it would continue one more year?
Michael, do you want to speak to this or?
Oh,
sure.
Yeah. I need to ask Anna.
We've heard through the grapevine is
Yes.
essentially what it is.
Okay.
And it would not be a continuation grant, but it would be a new competitive grant.
Yeah. And what we've
that's right.
yes, we've been told that there may be a potential that grant is extended for one single year. We've been told it will be competitive. We've been told that there will be no guarantee. So I can touch base with Erica Champagne, who is on our school council and share that information and kind of ask if there's an update. I think she was waiting for more information from the governor's budget, I want to say, that would kind of dictate their next steps.
So we'll have that next week so that we should, as we go through the next 2 months, we should have some intel. Okay.
Yeah.
And so to confirm, that is for the special education teacher.
Yeah. And the IA. But
those are both out of the same grant. Okay.
Yes. The evidence-based practice grant funds both those positions.
Thank you for clarifying, Michael, with Anna's prompting.
I don't see any more hands.
I do not see any hands. I do not.
All righty. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
you, Michael. Appreciate it. So, in order, next up to bat, Al McRae, principal of the middle school.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for your time as always. I'll try not to use too much of it. Michael, great job. First of all, I'd just like to put out a plug, if I may, for Beth and Nicole. I currently have 3 full-time school counselors at this building. And if they encounter what we encounter on a daily basis, having a half-time counselor, it's not adequate. So I fully support, selfishly maybe, those full-time social workers at their schools. I think it's something that's increasingly needed as the years go by. So getting into my budget requests for personnel, I don't have any requests for any new teachers or staff members. I did want to acknowledge that we added our REACH counselor last year as a full-time position here at the middle school. Having people that bounce between buildings is pretty cost efficient, and it's better than nothing. But from a continuity standpoint and the continuous services and consistency of services, having people in the building all day working with kids is a good model. And we've already seen that having our full-time REACH counselor here has paid some dividends, working with our REACH program and other kids on occasion. So I just want to acknowledge that was added in, and it is currently a position at the middle school. And I'm not requesting anything additional to that. As far as our supplies and service budgets request, most of this is things that have been kind kind of on a district level, coming back to the school, our EL education materials and things like that, we're going to be absorbing into our budget. There's also been requests for more online subscriptions for things. We have kids on Chromebooks and working through Google Classroom and such, and things online have been requested by teachers. These are things that in the past we've kind of absorbed into our regular ed supply lines or other lines, but they're getting to the point where they're getting a little bit more expensive and more of them, subscriptions and such. And we decided to ask for just some additional monies to cover those. You'll see most of that reflected in our instructional materials and books account, which went, from $2,900 to up around $15,000. The total request is around $14,000, but $5,000 of that is kind of a set aside. We've been working on our response protocol for emergencies. We have some materials we need to probably get for our reunification planning should we have an event like that. We're not quite sure how much that would be. So Patrick and I have kind of decided on just reserving like $5,000 for each school, maybe 5,000, it may be much less, we don't know. So I'm just asking to kind of have that as a placeholder as we do that planning. You'll also see in here some increased iReady instructional licenses. I've talked to the people who do our interventions, and they feel like getting 40 or so of those to work with students is a good number. And again, some other subscriptions from science and math supplement the curriculum. Our capital needs, as you know, we've entered into this building project. So I think it's pretty well documented the needs of the building. I won't go into that any further. We do a good job kind of painting things and placing tiles here and there and trying to keep the place looking as good as we can. And we'll continue to do that. So again, it's about a $14,000 ask all told for the middle school this year. I want to thank you because we've been able to really build our programming up and get the personnel in place that we need. We have 3 functioning special ed programs that are doing pretty well here. We functioned all year without being able to hire 2 IA positions. Again, having a full-time reach counselor has helped in that capacity as well with the support those kids need, because a couple of those positions came out of our reach program. So personnel-wise, I think middle school's in pretty good shape, and we're just happy to keep things as they are and move forward. So that's about where we're at.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. McCray? I don't see any hands.
I do not either. All right. Thank you, Al.
You.
And last but not least, he's here. Where is he? There he is. Patrick.
I'm here.
School.
Thank you, everyone. I want to first start by thanking our faculty and staff who do tremendous work with our students each and every day, similar to what you've heard from each of the other principals. Thank you to the program coordinators at the high school, each of whom spent time working through their individual department budgets, much of that information feeding into the full high school budget, things that you'll see and we'll talk about momentarily. And thank you as well to our school council for the work that they did to help identify school-wide priorities and needs. Of maybe specific note also on the call being Owen Silva, who has done tremendous work as part of school council for several years now. As we go through the high school budget, there are a number of things that I want to call to your attention, and some of what comes out in the narrative at the beginning, I'll come back to, but just to start with the current enrollment projections, or current and enrollment projections, we're anticipating a slight decrease from this current year to next year, just between the size of the outgoing senior class and the incoming freshman class, looking at a slight difference in about 9 students just in what we're anticipating in size there. It seems as though going down year over year that we're anticipating around 135 students coming in to the 9th grade as kind of a standard or more typical size. That 10th grade, our current 10th grade group, which will be our 11th graders next year. One thing to note is that group has actually increased by about 10 students from last year to this year, and we're hoping that we continue to see some of the increases in those classes, whether it be through students moving into the district or in some cases coming in via school choice. But we're anticipating a relatively similar number of students moving or within the high school next year. Moving on to the personnel section of the budget, there are 3 different kind of significant proposals that I'm looking to discuss this evening. The first being an addition to our 18 to 22 program with an additional instructional assistant. For this current year and really the last couple of years, we've been working to kind of make do with the staffing that we've had in place. But at times it has been something that presents challenges where we have an increased number of students that are going out into the community doing internships and vocational work. And each time they go out into the community, they need to bring with them a staff member to do job coaching and vocational skills. This is something that is a real need for our students in that program so that they're prepared for life after school. This is a very specific subset of our student body that we want to keep within our district. I think there's tremendous benefit for that cohort of students, but also for all of the students within our school to have them stay and remain as part of our student body. There's also financial benefit to the district to make sure that we keep those students here because the cost of outplacement when we have students that don't have the supports and resources they need is significant. So we're looking for an additional instructional assistant for the 18 to 22 program so that we are able to have several students going out into the district doing that vocational training. Currently, we have 3 students that are going out on different days with different jobs and trying to get schedules to align and match up. Oftentimes, we're having to either do multiple van runs or trying to limit who's going in on what days, and that sometimes it could end up at the expense of an opportunity for one of our students, which is something that we are always trying to avoid. But when you have multiple students out in job training programs, it means that the students that aren't out are left with, at times, limited staffing. And if we have to cover some of the coaching that's going out with them with our teacher, who is fabulous, it means that we've got instructional assistants that are running the programming back on campus. So it's something that I think is of real benefit to that program. The second position that I wanted to talk about really is something that I see being more of a campus-wide position, and that's a hall monitor position. As you're all aware, we currently do not have a school resource officer in place. And I think that without a school resource officer in place, we need an additional person to make sure that we're providing a consistent response and for there to be kind of a consistent presence around the school. With reduced staffing at the high school over the past calendar year due to budget cuts last year, we are now kind of at our minimum requirements for what we need to make sure that we have all of our duties fully covered. And so some of the things that we've put in place over the last year and a half, 2 years, that have had a significant impact, things like having hall monitor positions and bathroom duties, those are at times stretched thin, and we have periods of the day that we are unable to fill those just because we don't have as many teachers, which means we don't have as many duty slots that we can fill. And so having a person that's able to monitor all spaces across the campus, I think is something of great need. Having a school resource officer in place would be of greater benefit to the middle school and high school. Maybe not to speak for Al, but I would say it'd be of greater benefit for our campus. But in lieu of that, and without having that in place, I think it's essential that we have personnel that is able to kind of maintain and monitor some of the various parts of the building. I think as we've gone through early stages of the school building project, we've identified things that are problematic within the campus now, looking at entrances and exits, security, potential have a vestibule in the future, the outbuilding with students moving back and forth in passing times. All of those things present security holes, and having someone whose role it is to help make the space feel safer for students is really of high priority. I know in talking with our faculty and talking with our school council and talking with students, they really felt like having personnel that would make sure that school safety was a priority, and that being a consistent focus was something that was really important. And the third position, something that again I could see either being a high school specific position, campus specific position, or even potentially a district-wide position, is an attendance coordinator / counselor. This is something where I could see I would like it to be a social worker whose focus is on trying to reduce chronic absenteeism for the district. One of the things that has come up again and again in professional development that I've attended is that having a team and having specific people that build lasting relationships with families and long-term relationships with families, as well as being able to develop some of those support systems over time and to direct families to the necessary resources and supports is really important. And so wanting to have someone that can help keep that a focus. I see this also as a way where we can help alleviate some of the concerns that we have with our the rates of, like you heard in the elementary schools, the rates of students who are accessing counseling support. All of our counselors have full caseloads, and having a position where we can offset some of that caseload with targeted intervention and really identifying the type of student that we're looking to be successful with, I think is really essential. One of the other things that this is directly intended to target and address is our dropout rate and our extended engagement rate, both of which come up as areas that we want to make sure we're continuing to target through our school report cards. That's something that with our accountability data, the extended engagement rate has always been one that we've had a hard time with. And we also know that our students who struggle with attendance, especially in their freshman year, their likelihood of getting to graduation is just that much greater. So wanting to make sure that we've got that in place so that we're supporting our students early. And my thought process behind the potential for it even being something that is a shared resource across either the campus or the district is that for the high school, it's only beneficial if students develop good habits in the middle school or even before that in the elementary schools. If we've got those habits in place prior to them reaching high school, that's amazing. But I know I see the specific need for it at the high school now. The last area that I'm looking to address in the staffing area is not a traditional FTE position, but looking to fund something that we've been unable to fully fund that's within our contract, which is our faculty senate. One of the ways that I think we help to build teacher self-efficacy is through providing leadership opportunities. And there's, I think, a greater need for us to continue to build, grow, and cultivate teacher leaders within all levels of our schools. At the high school, I think there are current leadership opportunities, but within our program coordinator group, I don't see a tremendous amount of transition over the next 5 years. And I think it's important for us to have a wide range of leadership within certainly the high school, but within all of our schools. And I also think it's important for change and sustained change for there to be widespread buy-in, because the ideas that have been cultivated have gone through and been collaborated on by a cross-section of teachers and a cross-section of teacher leaders and a cross-section of administrators. And having that type of ownership over decision-making and changes in the school, and another way for teachers to raise concerns and solve problems, is of great benefit not only to our teaching staff and the working conditions, but also to our students, to make sure that we are identifying issues, solving issues, and all pulling in the same direction as quickly as possible on as many things as possible. And so I see the addition of a faculty senate as being something that, and funding the faculty senate is something that is of significant importance for the high school. Within the various departments, as we move on to some of the other line items, there are specific areas of need maybe to call out as more significant expenditures. So our English language arts is looking to update some of their core text. And every time they're updating core text, you see kind of a similar type of increase to the ELA budget, but they're looking to make sure that the books that they're using are fresh and make sense, and are things that students are excited to be reading. Additionally, within the ELA department, they just received a significant grant by TEF to build a second podcasting studio within the high school. They're looking to make sure that our podcasting class runs for the 25-26 school year. And they want to make sure that they have some funds to update the podcasting studio and to make sure the equipment functions well throughout next year and the years beyond. Our math department is currently involved in a curriculum review. And while this isn't a specific high school expenditure in year one, it's something that we're going to be looking at going forward in coming years with new resources for implementation for Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. But that's something that is a large anticipated expense that I'm sure you're going to hear about from Anna tomorrow night. In addition, over the last 2 years, we've been using EDIA, which is a learning program that is tied to specific state standards and Common Core standards that has helped to track student learning in Algebra 1 and Geometry, are the two classes that we've really focused in on for that. And that resource has allowed for teachers to have students work on a regular and consistent basis on specific skill standards for them to have data for where students are struggling, and also the program uses artificial intelligence to help provide additional support and resources for those students as part of their homework. So if a student is struggling with a specific problem or set of skills, it continues to give them similar types of problems until they've demonstrated mastery. So something that they've seen that has been a really effective tool and resource. One of the other major expenses that we have coming up is in the World Language Department, where we have what we're anticipating to be around a $14,000 expenditure to purchase our last set of world language textbooks. So this is for our level 3 Spanish and French courses. But this is the third year of implementation along that path. So we'll need to have the final set of books that will kind of complete the programming that we've been building towards. And then lastly, from a department-specific perspective to point out is some of the increased costs that our guidance department has incurred over the last several years. The things that kind of go along with some of the programming that we already have, but that are important to make sure are reflected fully in the budget. We've been finding other ways to try to cover some of the costs, but some of those can be inconsistent at times. So we've seen a real increase in the expenses for some of the events that we're holding. Our top 10% banquet, our recognition and awards nights, all have significant costs that's associated with them and significant costs that's increased based on the venues that we're using. But those are all really important milestones and mile markers for our students. Additionally, we've increased some of the Naviance programming for our students as we go through with curriculum and wanting to make sure that we have access for that continuing and going forward. One of the things that we've seen over the last 2 years with the addition of our career counselor position is far more events that are going on, whether they are college, career, vocational events, a number of events related to MyCap, which is my career and academic plan. And so with all of these different events and with all of this different programming that's coming in, Karen Cassidy has done a terrific job of hustling and finding grants and finding money and working with different state agencies to get things covered and paid for, getting meals provided by the state for presenters as they come in. But we're limited in how many times and how many spaces we can get some of those grants and how many times we can, what feels like, shake down some of the different state agencies for a free meal. And we need to make sure that as we continue to provide these opportunities for our students, that we have funding to support the programming that we're putting in place. I see the work of the career counselor as something that's really essential. I know when we put this in place, you were all really excited about what it was going to bring and provide for our students. We've seen continuation of success in our internship program. We've seen more and more students with significant plans for post-college, with opportunities being provided to them, with an increase in dual enrollment participation. All of those things are things that are of real benefit to our students, so that they do have a clear and set plan for when they leave Triton High School. Additionally, some of the school-wide programming that is important to make note that's not department specific. Over the last couple of years, we've partnered with the YMCA at Camp Cedar Mill and provided a freshman orientation experience that's been really well received by our freshmen, and I think has been of great benefit to get them kind of integrated into the high school community, and also a way for our faculty and staff, specifically who are working with our freshmen, to kind of get to know them in a different way right at the start of the school year. It's something that I think is really important programming for us to continue. We've been able to make this work. Initially, it was through COVID funding, and then in the last couple of years, I've been able to find spots in different line items where there was just a little bit of flexibility to be able to pay for it. But we've been spending about $2,500 annually towards it. And that's something that I would like to make sure is memorialized in the budget and can be continued going forward, because as budgets get tighter and tighter, I think we want to make sure that we have that in place. And then lastly, as Al spoke about, one of the things that's important for us as we consider school safety is making sure that we have money set aside for our reunification process towards our standard response protocol. So we've adopted the I Love You Guys standard response protocol, and need to make sure that we have supplies and materials for go bags and boxes that can be taken to the reunification site, to make sure that we have everything that is needed printed, and to have it all ready. Our safety committee hadn't yet gone through and made a detailed proposal of what each of those items would cost and what the budget for that would be. So as Al said, we both said we would ask for $5,000 in the budget to be set aside so that we could fully fund our response materials that would be needed towards the reunification site. And then as we think about capital improvements, we've continued to try to do work throughout the middle school and high school campus with our maintenance department. The work that we're doing is really just to keep the spaces functional that we're using. We've seen a lot of work that's needed to take place in the gym over the past calendar year, fixing flooring, fixing roofing, trying to fix the wall that is perpetually having things leak on it. We've been working on resealing a lot of the windows that are on one side of the building where they leak into offices and classrooms, fixing tiles on the floors and replacing some of the ceiling tiles as we go through the building. We're at this point, there's no estimated amount that was put in there. You'll hear tomorrow night likely about needs for increasing our maintenance budget as we go through, because there are continued needs on the middle school, high school campus that will be needed to be fixed just to keep us through until we get to a building project. I think one of the things for me that's really important is that we continue to demonstrate to the community that we can care for the spaces that we currently have, and wanting to make sure that we're doing what we can to keep them as clean and as safe as possible, right up to the point of what will hopefully be demolition. So I think it's important that we continue to look at the capital improvement needs for the middle school and high school campus, but really just to keep everything up and fully functioning until we move forward with the MSBA. That's the end of the presentation I had prepared for you. Thank you everyone for listening, and hopefully I can answer any questions that you might have.
Matthew?
Brian, I know that the school resource officer left, but I thought we were having some two officers serve as the school resource officer. Sorry. And if we don't have a school resource officer, where's that money going at $35,000-ish?
So we have an officer that's typically coming in the morning for drop off. It's the end of his shift. So he is there from 7:20-ish until the buses depart at 7:45. And then several days a week, we have another officer who's coming in right now for 3 or 4 hour stints. That just started last week. But it's and then during the earlier parts of the year, I would say most days they had an officer on the day shift walking through the building at some point in time, but I would say they were probably there for half an hour.
So the key is that it's not a dedicated officer. So Newbury is absolutely sending an officer when available. They're absolutely sending them to have a presence in the building as best they can. It is not a top priority because it's not a dedicated position. Second question you asked about the cost is, again, the town of Newbury police invoices us. It's more like about 20,000. I forget the exact number. It's a portion. It's like 39%, 40% of an SR or the full annual salary. So that has not been invoiced for the year since there isn't an SRO in place.
Is there any work being done on finding a full-time SRO? Because I mean, personally, as a parent, I'd rather have an SRO than a hall monitor, as much as I can value both positions.
I don't think you would find anyone internally that would disagree with that statement, that we would much rather have an SRO. And they are working on it. The former SRO that has since resigned, they are going through an internal process, and it's a costing issue. So I don't have an answer. I've maintained communication with Patty, the chief, Patty Fisher, who is the chief in Newbury. And so it's still their intention to replace that officer. They don't have an immediate timeline of when the funding will free up to be able to do that.
So in lieu of that, I thought it was important for us to request something that might fill that gap.
Can we take that money that we're not spending and put it towards that, Brian?
For the current year?
Or next year?
So the issue just becomes we would have to then say we don't want the SRO back. At this point, we've said as soon as the SRO is there, we would start being invoiced because they would be in the building. So if we spend it on we could do it on a piecemeal. We could potentially do that. Yes. Moving forward.
Do we know if we are going to get charged for the 30 or so minutes plus the time before school, and we're going to all of a sudden see an invoice for that? Or is that something that we're just not going to get?
That's not part of the SRO role. They're backfilling with available officers.
Does anybody else have any questions for Patrick? I don't see any more hands. So I would like to thank everybody for being here. I always appreciate when I hear the three elementary school teachers,
principals,
3 elementary school principals communicating with each other and helping each other, and then hearing Mr. McCray, advocating for the elementary schools. It's just so beneficial to all of our students and staff that we have 5 administrators who work together to do what's in the best interest of our communities. So I appreciate that. And it just goes to show, takes a village.
If I can just share my thanks as well to the principals. I know there aren't a whole lot of jobs in education that are easy these days. So they're sharing their thanks about the staff and faculty and absolutely do yeoman's work. But the work that your 5 principals do cannot be discounted. It is an incredibly difficult job right now. And they all do an incredible job with the work that they do. And I thank you all for your dedication to your schools. And as Linda said, to the district, that these are our kids, the 2,200 of them. We work together to bring them from the time we get them to the time we hopefully walk them across the stage. So thank you all.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Please say, can I get a name?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call vote? Erin?
Yes.
Caitlin?
Yes.
Paul Goldner?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
Marissa?
Yes.
Paul Mayette?
Yes.
Paul Lees,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Thank you very much. And tomorrow night, we'll be back here at 6 p.m. So thank you all and have a nice evening.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.